has potential advantages. Protectionism can work to some extent. And the tariffs feed into that. We raise the price of foreign goods coming in on the consumer, so the consumer doesn't buy them anymore, giving more leeway for American goods to be able to fill in those gaps.
Okay, and then, this is them basically trying to fix problems that they've created. Okay, so, and the big problem with it is it's, like he said, it sort of works, okay, but the problem is that it's one part of a greater solution. So you're still, even if this works, okay, you don't have the workforce, you don't have the culture, you don't have the infrastructure to feed the other element, the other part of this, and that is looking like it could never happen, or at least not in the foreseeable future in almost Western countries, most industrialized countries, but especially the United States. It could in Japan much more easily, but they have other disadvantages. But we'll continue here.
That's going to be tough in some cases. Like I said, if we just don't have the workforce and we've gotten rid of the immigrants,
Okay, I do want to specify that, okay, he said getting rid of the immigrants. Most of the immigrants have not been getting rid of. Perhaps they're shutting down the flow of immigrants, but a very small portion of the illegal immigrants have been taken out of the country. Just to specify that.
Doing those jobs, it may just be that our businesses fail and everybody just pays higher prices in certain circumstances.
Yeah, higher prices are coming. Due to the mismanagement of the past, there is higher prices coming, as I explained in the other videos. No matter which route you take, higher prices are coming. But if you take the pro-immigration stance, it's going to be worse because you're going to get higher prices and less resources and more pollution.
It also means that what we can do in terms of, and you've got my bent on this, but being filtered into the discussion of the overarching. But the tariffs actually work in conjunction with the immigration policy, because the tariffs help protect our production so that we can justify those higher prices, that the higher wages that an all-American workforce would theoretically need. Again, it's in theory.
Yeah, of course it's in theory, because you don't have the workforce, which I think he's about to say, but you don't have the workforce, you don't have any mechanism to put in that workforce, you've already destroyed your culture with absolute garbage, and this is the situation you're in. So you can't fix this problem in this manner.
We're not sure it's going to actually work because we don't have that workforce in existence yet. So
yeah, exactly. So I'm telling you, it's not going to work because you are not. If you were taking steps to create that workforce, to create that sort of culture, then I could be like, okay, they're doing something reasonable, but they're not doing that at all. It's the same garbage culture over and over again, and it's not changing at all. It's just they're just amplifying it, basically.
We're going to have to develop that workforce, and we're expelling the people who actually are doing a lot of these jobs. At the same time, in the tech industry, we're cutting back on visas and whatnot. Even Trump, when he speaks, he seems to be flip-flopping on the issue all over the place. But
of course, he's flip-flopping because his background is the way the background he's coming from. Okay, the groups he's associated with generally want immigration because it helps big corps. Okay, immigration is great for big corps. Why? Because you get more people coming in, that more competition for labor, you can lower the wages, and then you can sell your products and services for even more. So immigration, in the short term, helps the businesses. That is a simple economic fact. You have all these poor people coming in, competing with the rich people, or the more wealthy people, and the wages go down, okay? So that is why that works in the short term. I said the short term. But eventually, like I say, the resources are finite, land is finite, so eventually the prices are going to go up, and then wages will be low. So that's going to be even worse, okay?
When it comes down to actual actions, they've been towards tightening up and making it more difficult for even highly skilled specialists to come in. And that, again, it makes sense. It fits in with that whole negative thing. But here's the problem. You get into that kind of position, and you are disadvantaging us in the global trade world. And that's where spheres of influence come in. Just like in the 19th century and
okay, so, we are being disadvantaged in the trade war, doing all this stuff eventually. But the thing is, the important part to understand here is that the U.S. has had the biggest advantage, just an absolutely monstrous advantage in the recent decades. Okay, over the last 100 years or so, especially after the World Wars. It's just extreme trade advantage, extreme political advantage, everything like that. And what did the U.S. do with all that advantage? It was, no civilization has ever seen such advantage. No civilization has even come close to being given the world on a platter after the World Wars, that the U.S. was in that situation. And what did they do? Like I say, they wasted it, and they developed a terrible culture, and they spread this terrible culture across the world like a plague.
Earlier, way earlier, when you had mercantilism and whatnot, spheres of influence allow colonies, essentially, or areas that you dominate and force their trade policy through military threats and adventures. You're able to force them into a position where they have to sell you goods at lower prices than maybe they could get on a free market, and buy your goods at a higher price. The same concept as mercantilism, just in a different sort of mechanism, sort of like the co-prosperity zone of Japan.
Yeah, exactly. Whether you want to say attribute it to mercantilism or whatever, the fact of the matter is it's industrialized countries, and Europe took part in this as well, but the U.S. became the dominant force in this later, but European countries still do it. It's just basically countries with more technology, more financial leverage, more political leverage, taking advantage of weaker countries. That's basically the situation, and that's unfortunately the nature of the world we live in. But the bigger problem is that these countries, especially the United States, took all of that advantage and wasted it all. Not only wasted it, just made a complete mockery of all human history, and just basically put us on a trajectory of just absolute annihilation of anything that could have possibly been good. That is at the hands of the United States and their allies.